Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast and website by for and about baby boomers. Thanks for joining me tonight for a quick reminder that perspective is truly essential, especially when judging our own happiness. So let's get started on that. And actually, it's just kind of pretty funny because right now it's raining gently outside, and I happen to be one of those people that really like rainy evenings, and for a bunch of different reasons. And I know so many people that get annoyed about the weather. And it's a real good example of we choose what we want to do. The world around us happens. And we can either have the perspective of it's good for the plants and it's a nice change, we need the water, or, I can't believe it's raining at night and it was nice all day. So perspective is really important. So as you mentioned, last week, we talked a little bit about keeping perspective in terms of change and opportunity. And as we mentioned, to deal with change, first you have to recognize it. And sometimes change is really subtle. So it happens over such a long period of time that we tend not to recognize it as change, or rather just feel that we don't fit in anymore. So I happened across a podcast website today called Traveling with Kristin. It's a woman, Kristin Wilson. She's a 30-something who's been living abroad for so-called as a digital nomad and business owner for much of her adult life. And let me put that up and we can see it. So it's travelingwithkristin.com or at Traveling with Kristin on all the major social media sites. And what was kind of interesting about it was that at the beginning of COVID, Kristin returned to the U.S. Back in Florida, I believe she said, and was struck by how her life in the U.S. was so different than she had remembered it. Because remember, she'd been traveling pretty much full time for over a decade or something like 17 years or 15 years, quite a while. And how living here was totally different in so many of the other countries that she had been in, because she'd lived in a number of different places. Part of her business is basically as kind of a travel relocation specialist. And so ultimately she lived in one place for a number of years in Costa Rica, but then started traveling around to a number of different places. So she saw a lot of the world. And she had the opportunity to come back and see the U.S., not only how it had changed over time in her memories, but compared to all the other places she had lived recently. So it was kind of interesting. And then, I mentioned this not because we all expect to go and be worldwide travelers forever, but it's just we tend to sometimes forget to consciously pay attention to what's going on around us. We get all lose track of things that are going on, and losing track of things for a decade or 15 years or 20 years really isn't all that unreasonable, right? Maybe we're focused on our careers or getting the kids safely into adulthood and through school and everything else, right? There's many things always vying for our attention. But then suddenly there you are, maybe ready to retire, maybe kind of in your 50s and planning to retire in a short time or whatever, and you literally don't recognize the world around you, the place that you actually live, the country, the neighborhood, your friends. Suddenly it seems that everything has changed, and it's changed very quickly. But did it really change that quickly? Or all the while was it going on changing slowly and we just weren't paying attention? So that brings us back around to perspective. Kristin had a video. There it is. It's lovely, lovely YouTube video name. If you want to copy it down, I'll put a link or somewhere. I'll put it in the description. Name of the video is How I See the U.S. After Living Abroad for 15 Years. And it talks a lot about all the changes that had happened while she was away. And did a lot of things happen in any period of time in the U.S. over 15 years? Certainly they did. But, because she was away completely and then came back, it was this dramatic change. And so she wisely stays away from America bashing and instead takes a more introspective viewpoint of how and why things were the way they were. She chooses, as we've often spoken of here, to step back and look at the whole picture. And rather than be accusatory or angry, she's chosen to lay out a path to follow that's consistent with her life views and beliefs. She thinks about the things that have happened and what drove that, the good aspects of things that drove that, and kind of puts it in kind of a holistic perspective of how things are here versus how they were in other places, as opposed to everything here is bad, everything there is wonderful, or everything there is great. And she really avoids that nicely. And so, think about that in terms of how many videos that you've seen and news clips you've seen where life is presented in this totally binary and polar terms. Everything is this or it's that. You love it or you leave it sort of thing. And the bottom line is, if you want to have a life of peace and understanding, then you can try, you have to choose to try to both understand the situation and look for both the good and the bad in that situation. If you just want to be angry and annoyed, of course, we all get that way sometimes, but if you just want to be angry and annoyed, then you can just look for all the bad things that are going on and make believe there's no good whatsoever. But really importantly, that's probably you have that information now. Really importantly, it's up to us to make the choice. And if we decide to go live our life and work in a way that's consistent with our goals and our vision, then we're more likely to find our lives heading in a direction that is also consistent with how we want to live, right? Think about it. We are literally creating our own future by virtue of how we perceive the things around us, by the perspective that we take on the things that happen to us every single day, because every day good things happen, bad things happen, and we can look at the good things around us and say, oh, I like that. I wish it were better. Or, I like that it's not perfect, so I'm dissatisfied with it. Or I like that and I wish I could get some things from somewhere else. And it's up to us to weave whatever story we want as to how we're going to pass through life as we live it. We are, like I said, literally creating our own future. If we envision how we want our interpersonal lives to be, then we will tend to live in ways that our vision becomes a reality naturally and with joy. So no matter what, and that'll happen whether the world stays the same or changes, it has a way of changing. And it's funny, I was talking to somebody today and they were going on about the stock market and everything else. And it's kind of like, there's a lot of changes, but most of the changes have happened in the past couple of years. It shot up and now it's starting to, as they say, seek its own level and head back down and kind of restabilize. So over the short term, it looks like there's really big changes, but over the long term, things have always been moving pretty much one direction or the other, slowly moving up. It may go up and down, but it tends to consistently go up. So no matter what, it's up to us to keep a perspective that's consistent with our own inner life goals. And if we do that, we'll probably find that life is actually a lot of fun worth living. So that's it for the evening. Thanks for stopping by. Stay healthy, care for others. Remember to care for yourself so you can always be at your best. Of course, please remember the war in Ukraine. And as always, UKR7.com is still active. If you want to contribute or someone else who wants to contribute humanitarian support, whatever support you wish, lots of links there of ways that you can contribute to the effort and help mitigate that situation. And hopefully that's going to come to some sort of resolution before too long. Remember, one of the best ways to care for yourself is to care for others. And so as always, be true to yourself, live the life that you're aligned with your goals and your true feelings. Thank you for stopping by. If you found something interesting or useful, please pass it along. If not, please drop me a comment as to what you'd like to hear. Have a great week. Thanks for visiting. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of, because that's the path to true contentment. Love and encouragement to everybody, and see you next week on 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com. Thank you.